Hello, everyone. Soon we are going to reach the autumnal equinox, which this year is going to occur on the 22nd of September and not the 23rd. And with this, we are starting our downward journey into the underworld, into the darkness. Unfortunately, I don't really like darkness. I don't like when the weather is gloomy and dark, although we badly needed the rain and it's a little bit too much. As I mentioned in my last video, the full moon eclipse in Pisces on Neptune really triggered this huge flood in Europe, unfortunately, and in everywhere else. And a couple of places also had floods. Quite interesting. That was quite fascinating. That really it was kind of universal. And it kind of effectively did away with summer here, at least in Hungary. And we had all of a sudden, we had really cold weather. We went from 35 centigrade to 10 centigrade in a couple of 2, 3 days. It was really brutal. But there is a rhythm in the seasons. And although I don't like darkness and I don't like this gloomy, very little sunshine, very little light energy, and too much night, too much darkness. But what can we do? This is what we have to experience. So we're going down into the underworld with Persephone. Kind of this is what we are going to do. So let's take a look at the London chart. And as far as I remember, we have a Sagittarius ascendant, which is nice. At least something to be happy about. And I gave the title, "Do we need to recreate the world? Can the world be recreated?" Because it's always a question. At the moment, the world seems to be falling apart, truly and manifestly. And whenever this happens, the first thing is to recreate it. It already fell apart a couple of times in history, and we have always managed to recreate it. The problem is that if this is turning into an atomic war, there's no way we can recreate it. So let's hope that the powers that be and the world leaders who are cretins and idiots will finally understand the dire nature of their idiocy and will stop doing it. Let's hope it. If not, the world will plunge into darkness and total chaos. And unfortunately, we won't survive it. Very few people will survive it. And I'm not even sure that I would want to survive it underground in a bunker or something like that. But this is something that I keep thinking about. Anyhow, so can the world be recreated is probably a better question, because if we realize that we need to recreate the world, then we should start thinking about the methods, how to recreate our world. And the space-time moment is really telling us a very interesting story. As you can see, Sag is rising, so the chart ruler is Jupiter in the seventh house, which means the whole thing will depend on our adversaries or opponents or enemies, kind of. So it's not we who are going to do anything about it. Juno is on the midheaven. We need to find alliances. We need to find some partners for doing stuff. Astrea is exactly conjunct the south node, and Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, is already separating from the south node, but Astrea will be conjunct it unless it turns backwards. But I'm not sure it will soon. So with still triple conjunction, you have the karma breaking energy. The south node shows what we brought in for this incarnation as a tool, a survival tool, and Black Moon Lilith is about knowing what to do and having the energy, the will, the stamina, the determinedness to do what's right. The most interesting point in this chart is the fact that the moon is making an exact trine with the equinox sun and is on Sedna, creation through dissection. That's really an interesting thing. And the Palsatina Lilith, asteroid Lilith conjunction is getting tighter. So the two strong feminine are getting stronger together. The problem is that they are in the 12th house of the London chart, so they are not very effective at the moment. And the Chiron Aries conjunction is separating, because by now Chiron, which turned backwards, is a little bit, it's sped up a little bit, but it's much faster, of course, than Aries, which has a 500 something, so close to 600-year orbital period. By Chiron has a 50-year, 49 till 51, something like that. Sometimes it's 59, sometimes 49, sometimes it's 51, approximately 50 years orbital period. So now they are separating. They will be coming exactly conjunct next year. One of the main things for next year. So the exact moment for the autumnal equinox is on September 22nd at 13:44. So that's the London time. If you need to see at your location, you need to relocate the chart accordingly. And again, this stalled moment is there. This has been a very strong feeling during the 2024 year, solar year or civil year, simply because, not solar year, civil year, because a lot of the placements were at 29 degrees. Anaretic means that it is at the very end of a sign and it is not moving. We weren't able to surpass it or absorb it or make it work. And dissociate means that you do have the exact aspect when you look at it numerologically. I mean, a square is 90 degrees, a trine is 120 degrees, and so on. So it's there within orb and actually quite tight, but the energy is not there. And I'm going to show you how. You see the placements here. We have two anaretic positions, Venus, which is at 29 degrees 18 Libra, and Pluto, which is at 29 degrees 44 Capricorn and retrograding. And Neptune is no longer anaretic because it's at Pisces 28 degrees 28, so and also retrograding, so it moved out of being anaretic. But the fact remains that here we have a kite, which we normally can say what sort of kite it is. And if you look at the luminaries, it should be an air fire kite, but it's not, because its anchor point Neptune is in Pisces and one of the sides is Pluto is in Capricorn. So it's totally not energetically right, unfortunately. And the other planetary picture, the other configuration is an engine. But I can't tell you what sort of engine it is, because the Pluto-Venus anaretic square is there and energetically perfect, because Pluto is in Capricorn, Venus is in Libra, so this is a cardinal square. And by the way, Judy Hall said about the Pluto-Venus aspects, especially the square, that this is the emotional black hole. Nothing is ever enough when it comes to emotions. And this is the space-time moment. So we are starting with this. And actually, if we think about the mundane interpretation that Venus is also money, then this is what's happening. No money is ever enough for the powers that be. We have reached the point when the national debt of the United States is larger than the national income. So that's an end game. This is an unsustainable monetary system. And of course, what they want it to replace with, the digital system, is a total horrible thing, because it is going to take away your personal financial freedom completely. That's the problem. So we will see what they will cook and concoct for us. So anyhow, so that's a cardinal square, but the trine energy is really a quincunx, because Pluto is in Capricorn and Sedna and the moon are in Gemini already. And Sedna is retrograding, creation through dissection. This is what the sun, the moon is conjunct, with being conjunct, is highlighting and illuminating on a soul level, but also the sun, because the sun is giving you the consciousness and the trine is giving you the easy flow. So practically that's it. You may find other configurations, but these are the two main ones that are actually linked together. And as I said, it's funny because Venus is very, very strong in Libra, but it's not really strong because it's anaretic. So, but it's at least a 10th house, Venus, actually ruling in the old system, ruling this midheaven. So money will rule. Okay, here are the transcendental celestial objects. On the sun, you have Sphinx, secrets, pa Paciencia, which is patience, Hecate, which is the dark moon goddess, and the supergalactic center. This is M87, messy object 87, and in comic astrology is one of the key celestial areas, denoting the karmic dilemma of nothing is ever enough. So, kind of interestingly, we have the Venus Pluto square, which is also very similar in meaning, but of course a celestial area or a fixed star is always a much higher energy. It's not on the physical human level, but it is more on a universal level. On the moon, you have moon Sedna, you have the Pleiades. Oh, sorry, I left it the Hungarian. Sorry, Pleiades. Yeah, when I apologize. I always make these sheets in Hungarian first, and then sometimes I don't realize that this is not in English. So it's on a Pleiades, which is the home of the creator goddess. On Venus, you have Shiva. She is the third of the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. She is the one who is recreating the destroyer, Shiva, the destroyer, but destroyer and recreator. So, yeah, so we need to recreate the monetary system for sure because it's unsustainable. But to what? And to what extent and how? This is something we don't know yet. What they want to do is really bad. So that's what I can tell, and a lot of people can see that. And Homer is a very interesting piano. It is a creator goddess of Hawaii, and she is constantly delivering children. She's making love to her own sons and grandsons, and then rejuvenating herself and making herself much younger, and then again recreating. And again, this is a recreation energy and a very profound, uh, uh, um, fruitful energy. But at the same time, of course, the problem with it is that it's too much. It could be way too much. And on Neptune, you have Circe, the sorceress, who is turning the men into swine. And on Pluto, you have Ishtar, which is the Mesopotamian counterpart of Venus, the goddess of war and love, and Zeus, a chief god of the Greeks. So those are the transcendental objects. And there is, if you widen, and I like to widen the picture, whenever there is any ingress that is important, and of course the vernal and the autumnal equinoxes are very important, and also as the solstices. I always look at any uh, object that is at 0 degrees of the signs. In this case, I also looked at the 29th degree because we had this partly anaretic configuration. And sure enough, I found 3 centaurs slash TNOs. By now, if you watch my videos, you probably know that uh, we call all these trans-Neptunians as centaurs in comic astrology, kind of like when we say personal planets and we include the luminaries as well, although we know quite well that the moon is not a planet. So it's easier to deal with them. And they all describe our karmic wounds and also what we do with or about our karmic wounds, how they can turn into special traits and or phobias and all kinds of negative things, but sometimes they are both there. So here are the further transcendental objects. You have Borasisi, which is a protagonist in Vonnegut's Cat's Cradle, the novel Cat's Cradle, where there is this new religion, Bokononism, and he is the chief god, Borasis is the chief god. And the story is very similar to what's happening to Uranus, who can't accept his ugly children and throws them out. But it's more like a sun, moon, planet story. And Borasis in comic astrology denotes the tyrant. So it's the tyrant. And look what's happening in this chart. The sun is exactly opposite the tyrant, highlighting and illuminating it fully. And look at what's happening in England. I mean, it's and everywhere else. They no longer care about what people want. Democracy is no longer there. There's the elite, they're the leaders who are cretins, who are idiots, and they don't care what you think. They don't care what you want. They don't care whether it's good or bad for you. They don't care. And now they don't even hide it. So they even say that it's going to happen what we want and not what you want. That's what's happening. And the story is being told quite strongly. And if you take a look at Heracles, which is the hero, then this is it. This is a cardinal T-square with Heracles in Capricorn, Boreas in Aries, and the Sun. So you have this very strong cardinal energy. And then Asclepius, who was the gardener in the garden of Hades, the underworld, and he was the one who gave Persephone the not pineapple, what is it? Not apple. Anyhow, with the seeds. Sorry about that. I don't remember what it is in English. Anyhow, the fruit of the underworld. You will know what it is. And that's why she is unable to come up to the world, to her mother for good. So she needs to stay in the underworld. And of course, not Hecate, Demeter is very, very mad at Ascalaphus, and she's actually punishing him badly. And this is what's happening in the world. Think about it. Okay, Ascalaphus did what his role is. He's so hungry lady, and he, as a gardener, gave him some fruit, and he's being punished for it. And that's exactly what's happening. What is natural, what is good, what is heartfelt, what is, from a religious or moral viewpoint, good and acceptable, is being punished. That's what's happening to us. And Sila Nunam is an Inuit god and goddess. By the way, this is a binary object, and the moon is almost as big as the main object. And Sila is the star god, and Nunam is the earth mother. And so it's earth and sky, so above and below, the energy of above and below. You know who Heracles is, and Damocles is a Damocloid, so it's not actually a TNO or on an asteroid, something in between. And of course, Damocles means impending danger, impending danger. At the moment, it is anaretic and it's retrograde, so it's like receding. So hopefully, nothing horrible will happen to us in the next half year. But Damocles will be there again, so he will straighten up again. Okay, there's another complex planetary picture in the London chart at 14, 15 degrees. If you know Hungarian and you watch the Hungarian version as well, there's a different planetary picture, even more complex. This is done by the ascendant descendant and the Sedna Vesta opposition. You should know that Sedna Vesta aspects in karmic astrology denote the oath. And we do all kinds of oaths and promises and pacts. When we say that I will always love you, I will always have you, I will never leave you, and all kinds of other oaths like I'm not going to talk, I'm going to remain chaste, I'm going to remain poor, blah blah blah. These are very binding, very very binding oaths. And if you have a Vesta Saturn aspect in your chart, you definitely have such an oath and you need to somehow rescind it. Okay, so that's a mutable ground cross. And then there's also a mystic rectangle between the angles. So which is nice to have actually. And there's also a bow tie. Here's the bow tie, or just bow. As the two are linking together, the ground cross and the mystic rectangle, you have a bow tie with the IC, Saturn, MC, and Vesta. So that's a very telling planetary picture, complex planetary picture. And here are the transcendental objects. On the London ascendant, you have Hopi and two bright stars. Hopi is an Indian archetype, and two bright stars are wide and the great attractor. The great attractor, which is again a key celestial area, so it is actually much larger. It's the center of Laniakea, which is the galaxy cluster where our local cluster is, and its middle has something which is called a galactic anomaly. The astronomers don't exactly know what it is because it doesn't really behave like a black hole. Usually there's a black hole in every galaxy center, and also the clusters have black holes as centers. But this seems to be not a black hole because, first of all, it doesn't have an event horizon, and second, that it seems to be letting things out on the other side. Problem is we can't see it. Our perspective is not wide enough to see what's happening there. But anyhow, as a galactic point, as a key celestial area, it denotes the dilemma of free will and fate. And that is on the ascendant, with a wide, which is Beta Draco, and it's a star in the mouth, in the head of the celestial dragon, and the dragon itself is creating and or guarding the treasure. And our wide is guarding a treasure by speech, because it's from the speech organs. On the MC have Nyx, the knight, Merlin, the sorcerer, and Imhotep, the polymath. Very nice. This is all we need for our future in England. On the IC, you have Pythia, the oracle, and two TNOs, Leila Kuhuna, which is a bird, a migrating bird that is flying back into her nest, and it represents the soul's wish to migrate back to the earth plane, and all kinds of karmic wounds that are linked to it. And Okiro, who is the daughter of Chariklo and Chiron, and she inherits all the very nice traits and special traits from her parents. The problem is, so she's an oracle, but the problem is that she is constantly blurting out stuff that she's not supposed to, and the fates are constantly punishing her for that. And she is so fed up in the punishment that she turns herself into a horse and forgets to speak, and so she degrades kind of herself. He leaves her human potentials and becomes fully animal and much freer as such. But in karmic astrology, Okiro always denotes a fact that the incarnating soul has knowledge that was being threatened. She or he was being threatened because of that knowledge, and she rather wants to hide this knowledge. That is on our IC, with two bright stars, two alpha stars, Aldramin and Alpheratz. Aldramin is Alpha Cepheus, and Alpheratz is Alpha Andromeda. Both are linked to the Andromeda Cassiopeia story, Perseus story, and Alpheratz is one of it's actually the second healing word of suicide victims. The first one is Feat, and the second one is Alpheratz, where we learn to move freely. That's where the soul learns to again move. And on Saturn, you have Ahernar, which is Alpha Eridanus, which is a very interesting star. You won't be able to see it from the northern hemisphere because it's a very sudden star. Eridanus is the biggest of the constellations. It sets out somewhere around the celestial equator, somewhere where Orion's belt stars are, and winds down on the southern hemisphere. And Aherna is the brightest of the stars. It's the last one, very close to the south celestial pole, and it represents the hero's journey, how we are leaving our equilibrium, represented by the celestial equator, and having all kinds of trials and tribulations, and finally reaching our best potentials at the very end. And that's on Saturn, Lord of Karma, and on Vesta you have Orpheus, which again is linked to the underworld. So that is the equinox, the autumnal or fall equinox energy pattern. It is going to be valid for half a year until until we have the vernal equinox. But of course, there's another quarter horoscope which is going to be on the winter solstice, which kind of gives you a new perspective. But this half year starts now with this energy pattern. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.